everyone here that runs a business knows that the only strategy for cost is to reduce it to its minimum. So again, the responsibility is not with procurement, it's not with the CFOs, it's with the people in this room and it's with all of us in the industry to actually prove that value. And the third area is the pitching process. People say that pitching is just a way of marketers to get something for nothing. They can't get anything for nothing if you choose not to play the game. It's amazing when we run a pitch, how quickly, lemming-like, agencies especially will run towards the pitch, willing to do anything to win the business, anything including reducing their margins by 30 or 40%, to the point that they're unsustainable. And yet we sit there telling the clients that this isn't sustainable, there is no way that this is the way to run a business. Well, why should the buyer not accept the lowest possible price? And I sit there and I have these conversations with our agencies and they say, oh yes, it's everyone else reducing the price. It's not. Everyone gets you into a discount game to sell. The easiest thing in the world is to sell something for nothing. You're all salespeople here. You know if you give away your product for free, life will be easy. So that's pretty much what's happening day to day. No one's forcing the industry to create these problems. The industry is taking it on themselves. Second attribute of maturity. This is a cognitive skill, which is developing a clear identity or positioning in life. So you develop as an adult into the person that everyone knows you to be. But what have we done as an industry? Well, first of all, I want to take to task marketers who have given up on the word advertising. Does everyone remember the 4 P's of marketing? Price, product, placement, and promotion. And yet marketers who really only control one part of that, promotion, and used to be called the advertising department, now call themselves the marketing department. They have no control over the other 3 P's. So that's the first confusion. They've actually given up on, and why did they walk away from advertising? Because it was seen as dirty. It was seen as belittling. It was seen as something less. And yet it's the most important part of those 3 P's because you can get product and price right, but if no one knows about it, then no one's going to buy it. Second is agencies. The way that we differentiate ourselves has become so confusing. Media agencies are now offering creative services. Digital agencies can do everything. And even worse, PR agencies are doing more than everything. You ask a PR agency what their specialty is, oh, they do advertising, they do events, they do publicity, they do... Creative agencies sit there and get, everyone does everything. How can we choose and pick and choose the right teams to solve the market's problems if everyone is doing everything? What we need to do is get back to clear differentiation. The third is to become financially independent. From an industry perspective, I think what's happened is that we've all become dependent on our remuneration models. There's people that are still dependent on commission. I was in New Zealand last week. The number of agencies they're still getting their 15 and 17% commission is relatively high compared to Australia. And they're scared to give it up. Of course they're scared. In Australia, we're scared of giving up our retainers. We're scared of giving up our fees. We're all dependent upon the ability to sell volume and not results. Every remuneration model we've ever had in this industry rewards the seller for selling more. More volume, not more value. Because from a marketer's, the buyer's perspective, value is for every dollar I spend, I get a return on investment. And the interesting thing is we're increasingly seeing media proprietors now entering into value-based remuneration models based on paying for cost per acquisition, achieving certain lead response levels. And the interesting thing is that in every case we've seen so far, it totally changes the dynamic of how media is bought and sold. Because it's no longer about selling space and time, it's actually about selling engagement. because your payment comes, as the media proprietors, comes from delivering value to the client. So imagine if we change the whole remuneration model from selling just space and time to actually selling results. What would your businesses look like if you did that? Okay. Does this all sound very wise to you? Does it sound, is this the experience that you're having? I mean, you know, really we do cling to old-fashioned, outmoded ways of doing business. And we usually find a way of blaming the client, the marketers, the media agencies, procurement, finance for doing it. But, you know, if you're the seller, you have the ability to change the marketplace. Or are we grumpy and irrelevant? Are we really pissed off because everyone's forcing us to do things differently? And they're forcing us to do it differently by reducing our margins to the point that it's almost unsustainable. We need to start looking at ways of being remunerated on the value created. You know, the ironic thing is, what is the most common quote you'll find about advertising at the moment is something that was said over 100 years ago. And whether you accredit it to John Wanamaker or World Review, it is half my advertising budget is wasted. I don't know which half. And the fact that we're standing here in the 21st century still quoting something that was said last century is fairly ironic. Because there is no reason why it should be that way. We take a mature and dynamic response to the changing landscape. You know, are we dealing with the social changes that are happening? Are we dealing with the technological changes? Are we actually finding ways to meet the demands of marketers? Are we keeping pace, or are we even leading? Look, I think it's more likely that we are the sullen, sulky adolescents of the marketing world. We blame everyone else for our problems. We experiment and make mistakes, but we try and hide them. We don't learn lessons from them. We're not taking advice, and we're not tapping into the experience of the past. But there's some good news. If I've depressed the hell out of you, here's the good news. As an adolescent, you can always grow up. At least we're not irrelevant anymore. There's the possibility of being more than the area that we've been pigeonholed into. And these are the three things we need to do. We need to first of all start talking about business value. It's not just about promoting our own businesses that Tim talked about, it's about promoting advertising and media and marketing as a real tool of business. It's not just the agencies that have slipped down the tree. Marketers have also, in many organisations, fallen from the main table. And it's because we're not addressing the issues of what is the value we create. It's not enough to just stand there and sell media space. It's not just enough to sell ads. We have to start talking about creating value. Once we do that, we can then start to demand a more sustainable remuneration model. One where you actually get rewarded for the value you create. Look at every other creative endeavour that has a commercial interface. Musicians don't get paid by the hour. Novelists don't get paid by the hour, but advertising people are happy to get paid by the hour. If we can start linking to the value of creation, we can start getting paid a lot more than we get paid today. And the third area is clearly differentiate roles and responsibilities and learn to work collaboratively. I mean, how many people in this room feel like the learnings and the knowledge and the strategy ideas you have don't go anywhere? Because while the clients are saying, we don't care where ideas come from as long as we get the best ideas, everyone else is playing a territorial game and squeezing good ideas out. We've got to start being smarter and more mature in the way we work together. And the first stage is to clearly differentiate our roles and responsibilities. But for that, we need to take a long, hard look at ourselves. And my question to everyone in this room today is, as an industry, are you mature enough to do that yet? Because when you are, you'll stop complaining about remuneration and margin and procurement, and you'll start addressing the issues and building a sustainable industry. Thank you very much.